In the quiet heat of a July morning in 2021, mourners gathered at the edge of Kenya's Tsavo Conservation Area to say goodbye to a fallen ranger. The service was simple: wooden casket, dust rising under bare feet, the hum of cicadas in the distance. But what happened next silenced even the wind. Out of the bushland, with no warning, came a fully grown male lion, scarred, massive, unmistakably wild. He didn't roar. He didn't attack. He walked straight to the coffin. People froze, breath caught in their chests. Some stepped back. Others couldn't move. Why would a predator approach a human gathering like this? And more importantly, why him, why today? No one could have guessed the reason. But those who knew the ranger, they weren't entirely surprised. Hit like, subscribe, and let's go. Peter Wanjala had spent nearly 3 decades walking the red earth of Tsavo, his boots worn by time, his eyes trained to spot trouble before it arrived. He wasn't famous, not outside the conservation world, but to the animals he protected, he was everything. Each morning began the same: coffee boiled over open flame, a soft check-in with his patrol team, and then long hours tracking footprints and listening to the land. Locals said lions responded to his voice, as if they recognized something familiar. Especially one, a lion cub he rescued in 2007 after poachers killed its mother. He raised it, then released it back into the wild when it was strong enough to survive alone. They called the lion Morani, warrior. Peter never spoke much about their bond. Maybe he thought it would last forever. But life in the bush never stays unchanged for long. It started with a radio call at dawn, crackling, urgent, and incomplete. A lion had been spotted near the northern boundary, limping, alone, and behaving strangely close to human settlements. Peter felt a weight settle in his chest. Injured lions rarely survive without drawing the wrong kind of attention. By midday, he was already on foot, moving through the dry brush with practiced quiet. When he saw the animal from a distance, his heart stopped. It was Morani. But the lion didn't run, didn't even flinch. He stood still, favoring one leg, eyes locked on Peter with something that looked almost like recognition, and pain. For the first time in years, the wild and the past collided. Peter didn't hesitate. He radioed for a tranquilizer team. He wasn't going to let this one die, not if he could help it. Something deeper had been set in motion, though neither of them knew it yet. The tranquilizer took hold slowly, too slowly. Morani resisted, swaying but refusing to fall, his body tense with something more than injury. When the vets arrived, Peter saw it in their faces: this wasn't just a wounded leg. There were tremors in the lion's muscles, and his breathing was shallow, erratic. Blood work later revealed signs of poison, likely from scavenging a carcass laced by livestock herders trying to deter predators. It was a silent war waged across the savannah, and Morani had become collateral. Peter stayed through the night at the field station, watching the lion slip in and out of consciousness. He had saved many animals over the years, but this one felt different. He didn't speak, but his stillness was heavy with fear. No one knew if Morani would survive. And in the shadows beyond the station fence, other lions were beginning to circle. At sunrise, just as Peter began to lose hope, an old colleague arrived, Dr. Amina Otieno, a wildlife toxicologist who had once trained Peter during his early years. She'd heard about Morani through conservation channels and came unannounced, carrying a cooler packed with antitoxins and a quiet urgency in her step. Together, they worked in silence, flushing the lion's system, rehydrating him, stabilizing his heartbeat. Peter remembered a journal entry from 2008, notes on Morani's unique resistance to certain sedatives, which helped adjust the dosage that kept the lion from slipping too deep. The hours passed slowly, but by nightfall, Morani's breathing evened out. His eyes opened, unfocused but alive. It wasn't recovery, not yet. But it was a moment they hadn't expected to get. In a place where nature rarely gives second chances, this felt like one. A fragile thread of life, held by memory, instinct, and something unspoken between a man and a lion. That night, a sudden seizure shook Morani's body, violent and unrelenting. Monitors beeped erratically, and for a few terrifying seconds, his heart nearly stopped. Dr. Amina shouted for a second antitoxin dose, double strength. But the risk was high, too much could shut down his organs, too little and he'd slip away. Peter didn't hesitate. He prepped the syringe himself, hands steady despite the pounding in his chest. This wasn't just about saving a lion, it was about honoring a life they'd both fought to protect. As the needle pierced Morani's flank, Peter whispered something only the lion could hear. Then they waited. Seconds stretched into minutes. The silence in the room was unbearable. No one moved. Morani lay motionless, chest barely rising. Had they gone too far, or not far enough? Outside, a lioness called into the darkness. Inside, no one answered. The hours crawled by in silence, broken only by the soft hum of machines and the steady breathing of those who refused to leave Morani's side. Peter sat slouched in a plastic chair, his shoulders heavy, eyes locked on the rise and fall of the lion's chest. Each breath was a question. He hadn't slept in over 30 hours, but he didn't feel tired, just hollow. Outside the tent, the savannah held its breath too. Crickets sang, a breeze stirred the canvas walls, but no one inside moved. Amina monitored the vitals in silence. Nothing had worsened, but nothing had improved either. It was a waiting game now, and nature gave no guarantees. Peter rubbed the leather bracelet on his wrist, the one Morani once chewed as a cub. He wondered if the lion remembered. And if he'd wake up remembering who saved him. Or whether he'd wake up at all. Just before dawn, a sound broke the silence, a low, rattling growl. Peter jolted upright. Morani's body shifted, one massive paw twitching against the cot. Then another breath. Stronger. He blinked, slowly, like waking from a deep, unreachable place. Amina rushed to check his vitals, but Peter stayed frozen, eyes brimming. Morani lifted his head, weak, unsteady, but alert. Their eyes met. Recognition flashed, clear as sunlight through the dust. For a heartbeat, time stopped. The lion tried to rise but collapsed gently, his strength not yet returned, but his will was. Peter exhaled a breath he'd been holding for days. He didn't speak. He just reached out, fingers brushing the lion's mane, coarse and familiar. Against all odds, Morani had come back. Not just to life, but to him. And in that fragile, wordless reunion, everything else, loss, risk, fear, faded into light. Weeks later, Morani was strong enough to return to the wild, marked with a new tracking collar and a quiet dignity that seemed deeper than before. Peter watched him disappear into the golden grass, not with sorrow, but with reverence. In the silence that followed, he felt something shift inside him. It wasn't just about saving a lion. It was about remembering why he'd chosen this life, to protect what cannot speak, to stand between destruction and the wild. He knew the scars of this experience would stay, but so would the bond. Stories like Morani's don't end, they echo, in every rustle of grass, every call in the night. Peter returned to his patrols changed, slower perhaps, but steadier. Because sometimes, the fiercest warriors walk on 4 legs. And sometimes, the quietest victories leave the loudest marks. In the vastness of Tsevo, one lion walked away from the edge of death, and one man reminded us what quiet courage really looks like. Stories like Peter's aren't told for fame. They're lived in silence, in sweat, in sleepless nights beside injured animals who can't say, thank you. But maybe that's the beauty of it. Because in a world that often feels distant and divided, this bond, between man and lion, pulls us back to something real. If this story moved you, ask yourself, when was the last time you fought for something that couldn't fight back? Thank you for spending these moments with us. If it touched your heart, let someone else feel it too. Like, share, and comment your thoughts below. And if you're not subscribed yet, maybe it's time to stay for the next story that needs to be told.